In this video, I'd like to show new contour functionality in Mastercam 2022. This video is a continuation of a previous video where I nested the components for the Waterwheel exhibit from the American Precision Museum in Vermont, here in the United States. If you haven't seen that one, I recommend you check it out. Let's dive in. With the nesting complete and all the sheets laid out properly, I'm ready to start programming the first sheet. Go to the Toolpath tab and launch a contour operation from the 2D gallery. There are some small but highly requested enhancements in Mastercam's 2022 contour toolpath that I'm going to touch on here. Using a closed face loop selection mode, I'll chain all the components on the first sheet, going from the left to right. Once I get all the outer loops, click OK and use the 8mm downcut end mill already defined. Since my spindle maxes out at 18,000 RPM, I'll use a feed rate of 7,500 millimeters per minute and a plunge of 2,500. I want to use a spring pass on this toolpath as well, so navigate to the Multi-Pass tab and specify one finish pass as well as one spring pass. This should leave the most accurate and best finish possible. Depending on the material, feed rate, and rigidity of your machine, a spring pass may be necessary. Leaving the rest of the settings at default, proceed to the linking parameters. Since the plywood is 19mm thick, set the top of stock to 20mm, so we have a little extra clearance on there to account for variation in the sheet goods. Generate the toolpath. Launching Backplot and reviewing the path, you'll notice that the tool cuts one component and then immediately repeats that component with the spring pass. In previous releases, this was the only option. Due to customer demand about concerns with tool wear and path optimization, that is no longer the case. Mastercam 2022 now has increased control of the spring passes. Launch the toolpath parameters. In multi-passes, there is now a switch for machining spring passes after finishing all the contours. Click OK and relaunch Backplot. Now the spring passes are occurring after the initial passes. However, the machine is wasting cycle time transitioning from one side of the sheet back over to the other. This is especially true on a router with a large work envelope. Exit Backplot and relaunch the parameters yet again. Turn on the new switch to reverse the spring pass order and click OK. This time, when running Backplot, the efficiency gains are clear. The wasted transit time is all but eliminated. There is another issue to address, and that is the lead-ins and lead-outs that are gouging neighboring components. This is where some other new functionality in Mastercam 2022 is useful. Relaunch the parameters and go to the lead in out page. Change this to a 5-degree profile ramp, and there is now the ability to also use arcs and line length in conjunction with profile ramp. In prior releases, this was not supported and was requested by many of our router users, or those exclusively using control compensation. A linear lead-in or G1 move is often required to allow many machines to cut properly when using control compensation. Let's set that line to half the diameter of the tool and shut off the arc moves. Lastly, I'll shut off lead outs and click OK to see the results in Backplot. The tool now leads in above and clear of the part on a planar G1 feed move before ramping down and following the proper profile. This now makes profile ramping compatible with control compensation. There is one last related issue on these sharp interior corners on this notch. Since the corner matches the radius of the tool, there is a high likelihood of chatter resulting in unnecessary stress on the cutting tool as it sharply changes direction. Since it's likely we will need to handwork this corner through sanding or filing after it comes off the machine anyway, we might as well make it easier on the tool. I can relaunch the parameters for the final time and turn on an internal cutting radius and set it to 5 mm. That is legacy functionality, and if you've been around Mastercam for some time, you are likely familiar with doing this. However, if you are a programmer or shop that uses control compensation on your machines, you probably know that internal or external corner breaks were not supported with control compensation. Now in Mastercam 2022, I can still specify my internal corner rounding radius with control selected. After regeneration, you can see that in backplot, that path is no longer a sharp corner. Whether you program a CNC router or not, I hope you found this video informative and the functionality useful. Most of what I've shown here today are not big changes, but I think you'll find an example of Mastercam's commitment to continuously improve the product based on our customers' needs and feedback. If you have a chance, be sure to check out the video where I step through the automated disassembly and nesting process for this project.